Are you tired of seeing Chaos Barrage in every build? It is the most popular damage ability, but after doing a lot of PvP and duels, I have discovered multiple builds and playstyles that can easily match up or even outshine the popular build. In this video, I'll be sharing 5 strong builds that you should give a shot, and I bet at least one of them you haven't seen yet. In the end, I'll also share my thoughts on the popular Chaos Barrage build and how to play with and against it. So here we go. First, let's look at the Frozen Combo build. It's a very versatile and powerful build and works in most situations. It is extremely powerful in 1v1s though if you can get your combos off. The idea is to hit a frozen bat onto a chilled target, which will then freeze them, making them unable to move, and allowing you to move up and combo them with Spear Q for massive damage. Alternatively, you can also use Axe E into Spear Q, or even Axe E into Arctic Leap into Spear Q, dealing incredibly high damage. There are a lot of different combo variations, and if you want, I can make a short video sharing a few combos and how to think about them in the future. It's important to realize that you have 2 stacks of the Frozen Bat spell, and you should manage them correctly. To achieve the chill effect on your opponent, you usually want to rely on your other spells and try to keep up at least 1 Frozen Bat stack for whenever you can get a chill effect on them to initiate a combo. Usually, it is easiest to get a chill with a Frozen Barrier, but sometimes you can also use the Frozen Dash and hit an empowered basic attack on them. A tip: if you swap your weapon after dashing, the empowered attack disappears. However, you can swap to your spear before dashing, and then the longer basic attack range on the spear will make it much easier to hit the empowered attack, allowing you to then combo up and get a freeze on them and do the big combo on them. Next, we have a melee-centric Bruiser build. The Rising usually evolves a lot around poke damage and kiting, but with this build you can go in quite aggressively. The idea is to pop your Power Surge, which shields you and gives you attack and movement speed, and then dash in with your Axe Q into your opponent. You'll get massively increased attack speed, and the shields will protect your health, allowing you to get favorable trades easily. Be careful though, don't engage like this if you know that they still have a barrier or counter up, and if you do, be prepared to cancel your attacks, or instead use your Sword Q spin attack since it goes through barriers and counters. Power Surge and Mistrance are the only spells that give you extra mobility, and it can be a significant advantage in open world fights to chase enemies down or escape. However, the lack of range spells makes you rely on your weapon abilities to poke. You can use your Axe E boomerang or your Sword E to poke or engage, otherwise you'll have to hard engage with your shields up and get out with Mistrance to kite again. I like using the Blood Dash ultimate for extra mobility, escape, and sustain, and it can also be used to quickly punish someone on low health and try to finish them off. Now let's talk about the Artillery build. This build is high risk and high reward, and you can either run a CC variation with the Frost spells, or you can go for the Chaos variation with high DPS. I know that there is Chaos Barrage in this build as well, but I know that there are a lot of people who really want to go for a very poke, ranged heavy build, and I think this one is a fantastic version for that, and you can't really ignore the Chaos Barrage for that. The idea is to mostly stay back and bombard enemies with spells. When you know that someone has a counter up, you can fake cast a projectile spell like your Chaos Barrage or your Frost Bats, and then cancel it and follow it up with the ground target spell right after, since it goes through counters. Void even interrupts the counters. You have to be very careful though, because you don't have a defensive spell, so you might have to save your weapon abilities defensively. Slashers are generally great for that with the dash and the stealth, but multiple weapons can have strong defensive capabilities circumstantially, like the knockback on Scythe Q or the Maze E knockback. This build, like any other build, synergizes with the high quality Scholar blood, since the blood is honestly kinda OP. But for this build especially, it would enable you to just stay back and never really having to go in, since your spells will just keep resetting and have a reduced cooldown, so you can just keep bombarding enemies with your spells, and you also get some extra lifesteal from your damage spells. So there's a very strong synergy with this kind of build with it. Next, the Healing build. This build is pretty straightforward. You're basically more of a healer for your team, and it can be incredibly powerful to top off your allies before they lose max HP. You can swap the healing spells however you want. You can either use the 2 heals together, Sanguine Coil and Purgatory, or you can only use one of them and a defensive ability like Frost Barrier or Mistrance. It also works quite well in 1v1s, because the self-sustain allows you to poke your opponents down slowly while healing yourself up repeatedly. At some point you might just have to fully commit to get a finishing blow though. Again, if you do run the version with double heal, be careful about your defense and don't overextend too much, because you are quite vulnerable against good players if you don't run a counter or a shield or anything like that. And now the build from the thumbnail. Now, this build surprised me when I first saw it. I thought my opponent was trolling when I saw him send a bug spell after me, but very quickly I realized that it's actually quite powerful. The spell has a fairly short range, but you cannot outrun the bug once it locks onto you, so you're forced to use something to either kill it or get away from it. Otherwise, you'll just take a chunk of damage. Additionally, and that's what makes it so strong, it also goes through counters and shields. So if you know that your opponent does not have a space dash anymore, especially if they dash onto you, this spell shines. Because when they're in range and have no escape, they cannot use their counter to escape the damage, plus the hit amplifies their damage taken by 25%. And also, the insect blocks attacks for you, so if someone is about to cast a Chaos Volley on you and you have no defensive skill up, you can quickly use the insect and it will tank up to 2 Chaos Volley hits for you. This spell also has great combo potential, because you can incap or freeze someone and then cast the bug spell, wait a split second, and afterwards you can combo them with a spear combo while the bug explodes, making them take 25% more damage, which can be devastating. This build is weird, but fantastic in 1v1s. Unfortunately, I have not been able to test this properly in open world PvP yet, but I'll get back to you once I get some testing done on this as well. I do want to share this very popular Chaos Barrage build for those of you who don't know it. It is the most popular build for a reason, because Chaos Barrage only has 7 seconds cooldowns and it deals massive damage, and the idea is mostly to just poke enemies on range. In open world PvP, especially if outnumbered, you want to use everything you have to kite away and try to hit the enemies chasing you with Chaos Barrage. Careful though, if they do run Chaos Shield or counters, you might want to fake cast first, because Chaos Barrage is the main thing that people will try to avoid, so fake casting it here and there can have huge results because people will just waste their defensive abilities and you can have free reign afterwards. For 1v1s, I recommend running Chaos Shield with this build, but if you play in the open world, Mistrance is much better. It allows you to just keep kiting away further and further, and over time, if you play well, you can win 1vx with this build as well, because people tend to overextend and be careless with their defense, allowing you to slowly poke them down on range with your own Chaos Barrages. And then, when somebody gets low enough, you can try to finish them off with your ultimate and then get out again. But how do you play against it? If you are playing against someone with Chaos Barrage, you have to understand that they'll just keep spamming you with it, and it should be your top priority to try and dodge these abilities or block them with a counter or barrier or dash away if you have to. If you know that you have no cooldowns ready and they're about to cast onto you again, make sure to use the environment to your advantage. There are lots of trees and rocks around and they are fantastic to take cover behind. It's quite difficult to hit somebody hiding behind a tree with Chaos Barrage. So if you already used your spacebar dash and you know that people will keep chasing you, already predict that you'll likely need some line of sight, some trees, some rocks as covered, so move already in that direction. If you do run Chaos Shield, it's probably one of the best ways to punish the Chaos Barrage spam, which makes it so good in 1v1s. Because it'll just throw a Chaos Projectile back at them, pulling them in and doing a decent amount of damage. Most people are just throwing their spells in mindlessly, so you can really punish them with your barriers and counters. While kiting away, people tend to get impatient after a while, and then you can maybe get an XE boomerang throw right at them, and if you hit it properly, it deals massive damage and you can maybe even combo up with it. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful, and I'm gonna release more PvP videos like my previous 2 soon, and I'm working on more guides coming up as well. Please let me know in the comments what kind of guide content you're most interested in. I've been thinking about making shorts for a bunch of different PvE bosses and how to beat them. What would be interesting for you? Otherwise, I have a lot of other ideas, and I'm trying to ramp things up to get you high quality guides as well as entertaining PvP montages and challenge videos. If you enjoy the content, I'd really appreciate your support by hitting the like and subscribe button. Be sure to check out my PvP montages as well. I'll link them in the cards and description. And thank you so much for watching. I appreciate y'all. Much love, and I'll see you soon.